I'm Michael Pearl, and this is your daily Bible Manna. We've been going through the book of Romans, and we've come down to this part in chapter 2 where he says, verse 17. Now remember, he's writing to Rome, where there were lots of Jews, many of which had been converted, and some on the edge of being converted. So he said, "Behold, thou art called a Jew, and restest in the law, and maketh thy boast of God." And that's that spiritual pride that comes from being in the faith for a long time, being born into it, your family's in it, and it's your culture, it's your surroundings, and you just take it for granted that you're a superior people because of that faith that you're born into. He said, you profess, you say, "I know his will, approve the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law." Great pride there in their Bible knowledge. "And art confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness." So this is the great pride. Now, he's talking to Jews, but this is absolutely true of the Gentile church, of the church as well. You see, old denominations get stayed in their way and get relaxed and kick back and know that they are the voice of God to the people, that they have the truth like no other. You say you're an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes. You have a form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. This is old religion here, this old South religion. And I'm thinking the Church of England too. "Thou therefore which teachest another," he's asking a question, "teachest thou not thyself? Thou that preachest a man should not steal, dost thou steal?" So now he's talked about their staid religious state, and he turns around and he points his finger, and he said, "Now you that teach a man shouldn't steal, have you stolen anything?" Now, he's talking to people who've never done any breaking and entering, hadn't grabbed an old lady's bag and run with it. But have they stolen from work? Have they stolen on their tax returns? What have you stolen? He said, "But I don't do it anymore." But do you have it on your record? Have you ever stolen anything? If you have, then you're a thief. You said, "Not anymore." Well, God's books don't change. They're eternal. "Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery?" Old religion, tight in its marital vows, teaches that you shouldn't divorce, you shouldn't commit adultery, and they persecute those who do. He said, "You say a man shouldn't commit adultery. Have you committed adultery?" In other words, Jesus said, if you looked on a woman to lust after her, you committed adultery with her already in your heart. He's uncovering, he's peeling back the layers and covering the putrefaction of sin that's been pasted over with years of religion. "Thou that abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege?" People who would never think of bowing before an idol, and yet they create one in the home, create one in their work, create one in their lifestyle. "Thou that makest thy boast of the law," bragging about knowledge of the Bible, "dost thou breaking the law, dost thou dishonor God? For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written." So boy, he's coming down now. He laid the axe down, started off kind of mild. He said, "The wrath of God is coming down on you because you have blasphemed the name of God among Gentiles." People on the outside looking in at old religion, structured Christianity, organized religion, they look in, they see hypocrites. No, there's more there than that, I know that. But what they see is hypocrisy. What they see is judgment. What they see, they don't want any part of. And I can understand that. I've often said to people, you think there's hypocrites in the church? You hadn't got any idea. There's a whole lot more than you have then you know, because I'm on the inside, and I've been a hypocrite myself from time to time. So yeah, it's full of hypocrites. But you know, I'd rather go to heaven with some hypocrites than go to hell pointing my finger at them. For circumcision profiteth, if thou keep the law, says to a Jew. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcised. He said, now I've never heard of anybody getting uncircumcised. But he says to the Jews, if you break the law of God, then you've been uncircumcised. God doesn't see it. God doesn't count it. It's now meaningless. Therefore, if the uncircumcision, that's a Gentile heathen, keep the righteousness of the law, he's back to that theoretical salvation, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? Now that proud Jew, the very audacity of saying that an Arab, an uncircumcised Arab, or an uncircumcised Buddhist, or an uncircumcised Muslim, is going to be counted by God as circumcised while he counts the Jew as uncircumcised, that is crossing a line, Paul. You shouldn't talk to us that way. Shall not the uncircumcision, which is by nature, it says natural not to be circumcised, if it fulfill the law, judge thee who by the letter and circumcision does transgress the law? So he said these Gentiles will end up judging you, these untutored, unreligious Gentiles who keep the law through what they see in nature will end up judging you, righteous Jews. For he is not a Jew which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. So what he say is that God looks on the heart, not on outward circumcision, not on water baptism, not on church membership, not on your abstinence from certain sins, not on your obedience to Sabbath keeping or anything else like that. God looks on the heart. He knows what the heart is. He knows it. He knows my heart better than I know it. And so he's talking to staid religion, saying you need to come down off of that and get your heart right, because that's where judgment lies, with the heart. Not in the letter, but in the spirit. All right, that's what I have to say today.